ever watching a show?
Oh, yeah. We've been watching Dark, which is the German kind of sci-fi show that people sometimes relate to Stranger Things, but a little more complex. And it is. And we were talking about Geiger counters. And the one character, I forget his name right now.
Miko?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not Miko.
No,
that's his brother.
Starts with a B?
Damn it. I'm realizing too, I think I watched this show a long time ago when it came out, and it took me like 2 episodes to realize, but Steph has never seen it, so I'm happy to rewatch it too, and I don't remember how it ends.
That's kind of on brand for that show.
Yeah.
The time fuckery and not remembering things.
Definitely.
And
there are 3 seasons, I think, too, and
Yeah.
I don't know if we ever made it past the first one years back.
I got all the way to the end. It's very good. And the soundtrack
It's
is
Ben Frost,
fucking
right?
Yeah. It's fucking astounding.
Who I do like. I'm not like a big fan of Ben Frost's music, but the sound design is really good on this show.
I'm a big Ben Frost fan. It's on
You
my
are?
list. Yeah. It's on my list of acts that I would love to see. / I hope someone that I know isn't going, Dave, I was there when you saw them that one time, which is unfortunately all too common.
What's the best Ben Frost?
It's I think it's Aurora. That's the one that I really enjoy.
What's the vibe of this show?
So it's dark Twin Peaks, like a dark Twin Peaks, but also Scandinavian. Scandinavian as fuck.
I was just gonna make a joke. I was gonna say, is it like very lighthearted, bright and shiny?
Maybe a little dark.
See, this is the problem though. I took that sincerely, and I thought I was answering a question.
Howdy, y'all! Welcome to another episode of the Patch Tuah podcast. You got a patch on that thing.
Wow.
Gross.
Episode
Right
52.
out of the gate.
Coming out the gate, swinging.
Damn.
Annoying Dave already.
Yeah, my head's spinning already. I'm already lost.
If you wanted to, after this, take a year, you could listen to one Sysex Dumpster a week, and it would take you 1 year because there are 52 weeks.
Oh, don't encourage them to go back and listen to like those first couple episodes. Those are rough.
They're rough. Yeah.
Yeah, we did not know we don't know what we're doing
Say
now.
what's changed.
Yeah, but we
Not
did
much.
not know what we were doing back then at all.
We have just been making mistakes longer,
Yeah.
better at making mistakes,
A little smoother.
smoother,
Yeah.
smooth mistakes.
Yeah. Did you have that lined up?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was waiting for the right moment where I would annoy you the most.
Nah, there's no right moment. Oh, actually, that's not true. All moments. That if you were trying to annoy me, any moment would have worked, really.
Any moment works.
Yeah.
It's episode 52. When was the last time we did an episode?
About a little over a month ago.
What?
I mean, honestly, time is so fucking weird.
Time is strange.
We
It's
are
a flat
recording.
circle.
We are recording this days after the United States 2024 presidential election. I don't think we need to dive into that, but
yeah.
just I don't know. Keep that in mind if our voices are a little dour, a little down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you're listening, you can imagine where we kind of lay in that spectrum. And yeah, it's been a great week. It's just great.
Yeah.
Future's looking decent. Gonna make all sorts of money. We're gonna be filthy rich.
Like basically every problem's going to be solved here real soon.
Mm-hmm.
Even ones we didn't know we had.
Yeah, the best kind.
A new gilded age.
Yeah.
Cannot wait.
But your modules are gonna go up double. So
Yeah.
if you can buy them at all.
Well, I mean, other countries pay for those tariffs, right?
Right.
They certainly don't take that exact amount of what the tariff is and just charge that much more
Yeah.
and pass that price on to the U.S. customer that's trying to buy it.
There are no workarounds for these flawless fixes that nobody has amazingly put in place before. Yeah. But I digress.
For now. I seems yeah. You know what? Yes. Let's just end it there. So that was that was from Aurochs beer.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's a bummer. It's Auro.
Hefeweizen.
It's a gluten-free local Pittsburgh beer. It's the Hefeweizen. But like a week ago, they announced they are closing.
Oh, that sucks.
It's a real bummer, yeah. Because it was
get it while you can.
I was not even planning on drinking tonight, but I was like, you know what? I got to get these while I can. Because all the other gluten-free beer, honestly, sucks.
Yeah,
Wait,
the ones
you
I
knew we were going to be
tried,
podcasting tonight.
I did.
Had to have planned a drink, man.
I thought I could go through an episode without a drink, but then you hit me real hard with that Hawk Tuah, and I was like, you know what? I'm glad. Whatever.
This is the Patch Tuah podcast.
We don't need to revisit
Patch on that thing.
We don't.
There's no way you're getting through like 3 hours of discussion with me without a beer.
No.
Yeah, I'm so glad I got a beer. Wow, I should have got more. But yeah, R.I.P. R-Rocks. So
is it good? Like,
it's delicious. Yeah, they have a different set, like a bunch of different ones. They even have like a porter, some IPAs, but they're all gluten free. It's millet and is that how you say that? MILLET?
I think so. Yeah.
And quinoa and other stuff. Yeah, it's delicious. And all the other gluten free beers are really.
You mean quinoa?
Quinoa.
We're from Pittsburgh, where we say things like North for Sales and Du Bois.
The boys.
Trust me, I've had to explain this a lot
to your French-speaking partner.
Yes,
I'm sure they love what we do to their beautiful language.
Did I tell you she pronounced Primanti's Primanti's?
Oh,
and I just stared at her and I said, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "Primanti's, the sandwich place where we went last week." I said, "Never went there." I said, "I went to Primanti's." She just stared at me. She's like, "What, am I saying it wrong?" I said, "Well, you're not saying it like you live in Pittsburgh.
Right.
You got to say it proper. Primanti's."
Wow.
The head fuck for me lately has been ambient. Because you would say ambiance, and it would sound stupid to say ambience, but we say like ambient. And the more I like think about it, I'm like ambient. I'm like, oh,
yeah, that doesn't.
But then ambient has like that.
It sounds pompous and like a little pretentious.
But then if you break that down, you're like, why? You know, it's like, does that
well, that's the type of shit that got her very upset. That's how this whole conversation got off the rails, because she was like, why the fuck is there so many words in the English language that you can pronounce in multiple ways and it's considered correct?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know, that's just how we roll. But I brought up like North of Sales.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Du Bois.
Yeah.
But we say Duquesne correctly.
Yeah.
She mentioned that word too. She was like, well, how does that? And I said, you know,
we randomly chose that one to pronounce correctly.
And she said, that's correct. I said, right. I was like, we don't say Duquesnes.
No, English is incredibly difficult to learn. Like, think about OUGH. Bought, though. Like, there's a million different ways to pronounce those four letters.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tomato. Potato. You know?
Yeah. But music making equipment, Eurorack modules, and other fantastic wastes of time.
That's what we're here to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So I have, I only have one thing on my notes. So even this page, this is a...
it's a full page for one thing.
It's a full page.
I appreciate it.
And it's like normal, like I normally do. It is handwritten, Sharpie on a piece of 8.5 by 11. But yeah, it's filled. I got a lot to say about this topic.
Damn.
You have very nice handwriting, dude.
Thank you very much. I try very hard.
Mine's too.
Yeah. Mine's pretty terrible.
Yeah. And this even got a little bit sloppy towards the end. I would not. I wouldn't hold this up as a good example. And I've been writing people's addresses on packages because oh shit, I'm about to segue.
Yeah, dude.
Very recently, Thaco Records.
Plug it.
That I run.
Plug that shit.
Ooh.
Hawk.
What?
Plug that shit.
Oh, you just doused the flame right there. Whoosh.
So I put out a record recently by an artist that
who?
I don't want to say, because now I feel like that you're going to say something gross when I say.
I won't.
It's you.
It's me.
It is.
That's gross enough.
It is gross enough.
I can't make that any grosser.
Yeah, the new record by Disheveled on Thaco Records.
That's
Phantom
me.
Touch. Available digital and on a purple 12-inch vinyl record.
Limited edition.
Limited edition. I only do limited editions because They don't normally even sell those out, so there's really no reason to repress any of them. But yeah, I've been writing people's addresses on the record mailers, and I take my time, and I want to make sure that like it's perfectly legible, and like they get it, they're like, damn, that looks good. My name, I want people to think my name has never looked so good.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I try to do.
I appreciate that kind of care.
I'm glad you do, because
Attention to details.
that's what I'm all about.
That's why I go with Thaco Records.
That's right.
Thaco? It's Thaco.
No.
Christ, pronunciation again.
Yes. See? It all comes around. Full circle.
I've actually heard both, yeah. So
I'm excited to see the final version. I was blessed with the test press, so I got the sneak preview.
mhm.
But it looks tasty.
Well, there's a box of them right beside me, like right beside my right
Yeah, I
leg.
don't even have my own copies.
Well,
yet.
that's what I brought with me this evening, is your copies and one copy for Nick.
Yay.
Thank you.
So, but yeah, if you're not doing anything right now, let's pause this podcast. Go to Thaco Records on Bandcamp.
Or Thaco Records.
Don't know that label.
Don't go there. Listen to this record, buy it, enjoy it. Whatever you do on Bandcamp, and then come back and resume. We'll be here waiting for you.
It's a heater too, I will say.
Yeah.
Because if somebody would just be like, oh, and not to put a gross label on it, but here's like a breakcore label anymore, I'd probably be like, oh, a breakcore record. I would like probably, I'm assuming I wouldn't be super interested, but it's got some juicy bits.
It does.
It's been a long time coming. I've probably mentioned it since we started podcasting that I've been working on this goddamn album. Now it's finally done.
Well, there's been a couple albums in the interim because you did
From me?
Well, yeah, because the split with Kevin
Yeah, that's true.
and Mecca.
Fuck, how long have we been doing this?
We've been doing this like 8 years, man.
Yeah.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't working on it that long. I was working on it for the last 3 since late 2021. I started the process. But yeah, it's finally out there for the world
Mm-hmm.
to enjoy or hate and discard appropriately, safely. Keep away from children and pets. But it's out there.
Do not use as a flotation device.
Yeah, do not put the sleeve over your head unless you have a consensual partner to help you out.
Right. And a safe word.
A
And
safe word.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like a good fire to burn it off.
Yeah.
If it's on your head.
Yeah.
Like a good lighter.
Like that one Snoop and Martha Stewart are always trying to get me to buy. It's like the one you light
With the grill lighter.
a grill lighter, but like shorter. It's a very weird move. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad you plugged it, Dave, because I wasn't sure how I would work it in there. I didn't want to just plug myself.
Ooh.
It's not very gracious.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
But I was hoping to somehow mention that the record is out there, because I've been talking about working on it.
Well, I'm a
for a
master
while.
of promotion, so
Thank you.
that obviously this was something
Yeah.
I was going to step up and do. Yeah, no, it's a great record, and I can't wait for all of it to get the fuck out of my house.
Yeah.
So everyone go and buy some.
Buy the record, help Dave out.
Holiday seasons are upon us. It makes a terrible gift.
In today's weather report, I'm happy to say that Make Noise survived Hurricane. What was it? Helen?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, they were in a higher area, I think.
Is it Helene or Helen? I think it's Helene, right?
Is there an E at the end?
Yeah,
Yes.
there
Then
is.
it's Helene, yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember, but they survived. All their HQ and all staff made it through.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Asheville, North Carolina, where they're based, got hit pretty hard.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not too many people, I guess, outside of the States know about that, but yeah. We've had some rough weather lately.
Yes.
Some flooding, some tornadoes, some hurricanes. Southern areas got hit pretty hard. And there was some members of Make Noise that couldn't be reached for a while, and people were kind of concerned. Word was being spread around on like Reddit and such. But
I didn't see that. Yeah.
everyone's all good.
How'd the Moog factory do?
That I didn't read up on. I remember people asking about it.
Yeah.
But I did not.
That's the same area, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Asheville.
There was one comment that I made a note of. Because everyone was okay, I thought it was okay to...
So it's in bad taste is what you're saying.
It was, but it made me chuckle.
Yeah.
After knowing that everyone was okay.
Right.
User Government Yard on Reddit said, imagine trying to evacuate the Make Noise building in an emergency, and all the exit signs are bewildering hieroglyphics in gold and black.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, well done.
I will say their new Spectrophone update slaps. It made it way more sensible to use for me. I only played with it for like a minute, but it does like linear scanning of the spectrum now instead of planar, the way they called it, which was confusing in the way you kind of like dialed in certain harmonics. I'm still like kind of a noob with that module, but I do like it a lot. I will be exploring it for time to come.
This is a recent update?
Yeah, just like 2 days ago.
Oh, wow. That's cool. They're still supporting it.
Oh, yeah. It was part of their re-synthesizer thing, which is really just like kind of like ALM does, where they just put a case together for people to buy. Like, here, let's reduce your choices, re-synthesizer case. And this firmware was part of it. And you didn't like, it was until Luke told me at the very end of the case video that was like half hour long, they mentioned the update. So it was kind of Easter egged in there, and then they dropped it a couple days later.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Good module. One I haven't like used too much in music yet, maybe like a sample or two, but it's a very interesting one.
I've never actually used it, so.
Big. FM is really good. It's really high res. It has that feel of like almost infinite resolution with the way the FM is done. Tom Arab, definitely a genius. That dude makes some sick shit.
Is that how you pronounce his name?
I believe so. Herb?
I always say herb.
Oh, is it herb?
But it might not be.
Verb.
This is, again, pronunciation. This is probably one of those words and names. I don't know.
Who knows?
It's ERBE, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So it might be Arab.
Could be. Could go either.
Yeah.
Like I could definitely, because I do think of, I'm trying to think of like videos, because they say it like herb verb, you know?
Yeah. I was going to say,
so maybe
I
it's
always
kind of
pronounce herb verb
synonymous.
as herb verb. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I'll roll with that.
Yeah. So if you know, write in.
Yeah. Letter, though. Like not typed out.
Like P.O. Box.
Cursive.
leave a shitty comment on our YouTube. It says, "You fucking idiots. It's pronounced." Insert pronunciation there.
Yep.
We'll still fuck it up, even with that pronunciation guide.
Yeah. Preferably link to a video you recorded saying the word.
I do look those up every once in a while.
I do.
Those pronunciation, like 10-second ones, like,
Mhm.
and they say it a couple of different ways, and then I'm like, oh, that's how you say that.
I hate those because every time I try to use them, it's some robot voice that's saying it like a fucking robot anyways, and probably not correct.
Apple. Apple. Do you mean apple?
I'm like, why do we need a robot to do these pronunciation videos, right?
It seems to defeat the purpose.
They're 10 seconds. Just have someone say the word properly.
There's 500,000 words in the English language. That would take years for someone to do.
I guess you got a point there. But, I mean, someone's still making the video. Spend an extra 10 seconds and record yourself saying it, right?
I bet a lot of that's automated.
Just AI cranking this shit out.
Yeah.
If you're an AI robot who does pronunciation guides for YouTube, get a hold of us. Let us know your process. We're curious.
So make noise. What else we got? What's on your list?
What's on your list?
Mine's very large type this time. No, I can.
That is very untrue.
Barely read it. I can barely read it. My vision. I need bifocals because I'm fucking.
Ooh, I have progressive lenses.
I got a couple quick hitters. I very briefly had a Torso T1 sequencer.
Briefly, though.
Briefly.
As in you don't have it anymore.
I do not have it anymore. I had shipped it out just a week or so ago. I found one at a really good price. I was cooking on like a sequencing idea for another project in my mind and was like, I'm going to give this thing a shot. Thinking
what about it appealed to you? Why were you gravitating towards it?
I think what appealed to me was the exact thing I think is its weakness, is the melodic aspect of it. I have things that will act as Euclidean sequencers. Even that was a little obtuse. That thing could use a screen. I know their whole thing is to not have one, but even trying to read the very light gray markings, like in any type of dim lighting, and I usually like play shit and not like an office, it's like pretty dim. It's a lot to remember. If you look at the manual, it's kind of ridiculous how much like things overlay. But it was the melodic parts of it. Like, and even they added an update so you could actually manually enter notes, but you kind of like pick a scale, shift things around, and it was a little too loose for me. I wanted I think an arpeggiator I already had, and this one was a little odd to me. Like, I honestly prefer even like a Waldorf synth and the way they have their arpeggiators work is like way more straightforward, and I can manipulate that. But yeah, it felt like it was hard to like, it was a machine I was using, but it was something I couldn't melodically influence in a way that I'm kind of used to now. So
That's what's always kept me from buying one.
yeah,
I've always been interested in having a little generative Euclidean sequencer like that, but the interface and the lack of screen and all that just always seemed like way too convoluted to get from A to B with, the way that it works. I've watched a couple overview videos. One I think I watched twice and I still didn't fully understand it.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not buying this thing.
I've watched them multiple times when I was trying to break through, and just even not just a little screen to show you what scale you're on, because otherwise you have to go to a mode, look at which pad is lit, see which pad corresponds to this label that you can barely fucking see. I know people that really like it. Like obviously like Surgeon crushes live sets with his and like just a sampler, but he's, on another level. People like it. It's very popular in techno right now because Euclidean drums, and like you can get a lot out of it. MIDI and CV outs. That part was pretty good. Very compact, very nicely made, like really nice metal enclosure. It seems like sturdy and shit.
I've never really understood the point of Euclidean sequencing.
Oh, yeah? I like it.
I feel like to manually sequence that takes about 10 seconds. You know what I mean?
That's fair. Unless you're doing like heavy polymetric with like different track length stuff. Like I get it.
Sure.
Depends on where you want to reset. But yes.
But like even most sequencers, you just you set your endpoint
right,
and you punch in that manually. It takes 10 seconds.
It'd be trivial in Ableton. Having it like all together with controls that let you easily set like the amount of notes and like the length.
Yeah,
is harder than manual. But like how often are you going to do that in real time?
Sure.
Right. And I'll talk about it on the one module I have to talk about this time. But sometimes I want that, but a lot of the time you don't need it.
It's also good to experiment. And you're right, you can plug all this in, but to have something that's kind of doing these weird things for you, you can be like, oh, I wouldn't have necessarily thought of that in this thing now, because you're shifting things around and you're sieving this. You're getting something that you may not have come up with on your own.
Yeah, I've tried. Like I used to have grids, mutable instruments grids, and you could enter a Euclidean mode with that.
Yeah.
And I would experiment with it a lot, but it just never really. Every time I ended up with something I liked, and I was like, yeah, I could make this in 4 patterns, like very easily.
That's fair.
Know what I mean? So I don't know. Even with the CV capability, like. I feel like you're not going to be bouncing around too much when it comes to Euclidean stuff. It's kind of like you set it and forget it, and you might have some resets here and there that are a little off. But if any sequencer you're messing with has, polymetric capability, then it's. I'm stuttering because I'm trying to think of the one that I was doing that with a lot. It was the one from Atoria.
The BeatStep Pro?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. I didn't know they could do that.
Yeah. Well, could that do that originally?
No, that was in the update.
It was. I remember there was a big update that added that. Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I like it for some things. And I would mention this module that I built, which was cool, is the ATOV project LX Euclid, which is the one that's a little circular display, and then like rings around it where you can control it.
Can you stop for a second and explain what the rings do? Because I feel like that's a thing that doesn't come across in a lot of the videos.
No, it doesn't come. It took me a little to dig in because those 2 rings are both touch sensitive plates that know which position your finger is at.
Are they discrete? Is it like this is I'm on 3 and only 3, or are you sliding it around and getting like variable?
I believe they're discrete. Like it's fixed. At least for the firmwares now, there's like a fixed value behind what you're doing. Even though, so you can be manipulating the length and the amount of notes in the Euclidean sequence, like the seeds, at the same time, or you can use it to select parameters or things like that in some of the modes. Like they did a killer job designing it. It was also part of the reason that I sold the T1 is because for Euclidean stuff, like that module crushes it. I don't necessarily need to make that stuff into MIDI, and I have an FH2 from Expert Sleeper, so I can do CV to MIDI with that, and it's one of the best ones out there for that. But the interface is just like so much nicer compared to the T1 because the screen, and they kept it minimal, and they give you CV control over like everything, which is cool for you can map the CV inputs one to many on there, which is really nice. So you can be changing the seed amount of notes and the length at the same time. And that's the stuff that's like harder to program in. So it's like for those things, it's awesome. For the T1, I don't even remember if you could do like CV in or MIDI value changes, but the interface didn't lend itself to it. I don't know. I think the pads were like dim as hell on the T1. It just wasn't, something about it didn't hit for me. Again, I know people that like really love it and get work done with it. The LX Euclid, granted, it has no melodic aspect to it. Love it as a sequencer right now. 4-channel, good interface, visually pleasing to me. I have other stuff like you were saying that will do Euclidean too, but it's like a keeper. Plus, it was a kit. I felt like building a kit at the time. I was just like, oh, I want to try that thing.
I have a minor gripe. And not a gripe, but like a question that if the answer is no, then this is a gripe. Can you flip it so the jacks are on top?
I think they have introduced something you can do that. The panel doesn't lend itself to it, but I've seen people request it, and I think they are going to let you flip it over.
Because I
flip mode
squad.
Yeah, there's no reason not to.
Exactly. Yeah, because that was the only thing was like the putting my hand around all of the jacks. Seems like that would be, again, big sausagey hands. That would not work well for me. I need jacks at the top.
Oh.
So
minor valid complaint.
Minor complaint.
Yeah, I have no real complaints about it. Easy build, good price. Does the job. I love the way they use the screen. At first, when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, this looks like gimmicky," but it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, good deal.
So what have you been using it with? Like, what have you been sending it to?
Very little. I was really just testing it as I was working on this other record. It didn't like make it into it. But I was just triggering like samples in the assimilator, for that resetting some other sequencers and stuff. So it's part of another project that I want to start working on the moment this one is done or a little after, is I've got to build another sequencer kit, and I have the kind of a sequencing idea in my head that I don't want to talk about much because I've definitely learned that I don't get comfortable talking about that stuff till it's done. You
can
ruin
don't
the
count
magic.
your chickens until they hatch.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. But I do have a pretty strong idea of some sequencing stuff I want to dig into, and it'll play a decent part in that.
Nice.
You don't put the horse before the cart, or the cart before the horse. Sorry. You don't put
Keep going.
the plow before the ox.
Okay.
You don't put your hog before your Tuah, Greg.
Patch on that thing, Dave.
But you do put the hog before the Tuah.
I don't want this to catch on is the thing. Like I feel like it's
Too
coming
late.
it's coming up too many times. It's getting traction, and I'm getting uncomfortable with the traction it's getting.
Greg and I are already designing a shirt while we're talking right now.
And it's me spitting into a mic.
You're just spitting on a modular.
Oh,
Patch on that thing.
wow. God, I hate it. I hate it already. So wait, is that the end of that?
Yeah.
Greg, do you have anything on your list?
My list got cut short.
Oh no, what happened?
I got distracted.
With?
My ADD brain's been all over the place today. I kept having ideas of what I wanted to take notes about, and then my brain would bounce to other things.
Well, just freestyle, just off the top of your head. What's on your mind?
I did have a little thing here about Elektron.
We go into the Elektron corner.
Elektron corner.
Whew,
Insert soundtrack or a little melody.
It's musty in here.
We
It's
never
been a
do.
while.
Oh no, Nick like freestyled a little tune once.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we haven't used it since.
Let's put it back.
Our editor has been slacking when it comes to Elektron corner.
All right, well, right here we're gonna put in the theme. And now we're back.
Yeah.
Elektron corner.
What are you electroning about?
Yeah.
Something that I was kind of ignoring, but I got to give a shout out to one of our Sysex dumpster Discord users, Dylan.
Yeah.
Brought up the Digitone 2, or Digitone. I say Digi.
Yeah, I say Digi.
But
I say
weird to
Digi
say
too, like
Digi.
digital.
makes sense to me, but
Yeah.
there was plenty of synth tubers out there saying the other way.
Yeah,
So-
they
Which
mostly
I'm not
do.
going to say.
So I think Diggy would be 2 G's like Piggy.
That would make sense. Yes.
Yeah, I think I think the single G makes it a hard
But I've been
G.
hearing people say Digitact and Digitone.
The soft G
and I
would
wanna
be 2
smack
G's.
them.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Again, all Midwestern Pennsylvanians, we live in a strange pronunciation world.
Exactly. It's lawless out here.
But yeah, no, I call it Digi.
Yeah. same here.
Digi.
But yeah, Dylan mentioned that he was gassing for the Digitone Mark II.
Yeah.
And I was kind of ignoring it.
Well, you had a Digitone.
I had
one.
the OG, yeah. Did you too?
No, I had a Digitac.
Yeah, I thought
And I
maybe you
never-
had both for a
Same.
second.
So I love FM shit, and I was really
Right.
put off by how much lack of control you had over the Digitone. I want down to the operator type shit.
That's true. We did discuss this
Yeah, I
many,
just-
many moons ago in an episode.
I was turned off by how hands
So I remember
off
you
it
were
was.
probably the only person in the world that was angry that this was not more difficult to use,
Yes.
to use
Yeah.
with FM synthesis. But no, I respect that. I dig that. But yeah, I didn't really jive with it because mainly when I bought it, I wanted it to be an FM drum machine.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be kind of like the FM machines from the machine drum
Yep.
and from the mono machine, and it just wasn't there. So when I saw my social network feeds and my YouTube subscriber feed getting bombarded by synth tubers talking about this thing all on the same day, I guess the embargo was released.
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm not going to watch any of these videos. I'm just going to ignore this. I don't care about Digitone 2.
Right.
But yeah.
But you were wrong. You were wrong.
Well,
You were wrong
I'm
to ignore it.
intrigued now.
Yeah.
Dylan talking about it and other people in our Discord inspired me to take a closer look. So I
Mhm.
watched a few videos, checked out the stats, wanted to see what was different between the OG. And it seems like it has potential now to be what I wanted the OG to be. And, that's pretty much a dedicated FM drum machine.
Mhm.
So I'm a little hyped around it. I don't know if I'm going to buy one. I'm still not fully sold, but it has my curiosity.
So it looks like it's the same form factor. What's different? What have they changed?
It has 16 tracks, which is nice, and it has, I think, 3 new machines. There's like Swarm, some other shit. I don't care. All I care about is the drum mode,
Right.
and the drum machine. That's probably entirely what I would use this thing for, which is why I'm not entirely sold on it either.
So and that was
because-
completely lacking from the first one. This is an entirely new feature.
I mean, you could make drums with it,
But you had to,
I
like,
tried.
set your own
It was-
envelopes and,
Yeah, it was
like-
a pain in the ass. It wasn't very.
But this has a dedicated drum mode, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
And it also added filter modes, which I think is pretty slick. There's a comb filter mode now.
Yeah.
You can kind of do like
Lots of
string
filters.
things. It's
Mhm.
kind of neat.
Yeah, like a high pass, low pass kind of one too.
Yeah.
But seems like they really put in a lot of niceties into that form factor and just the overall concept of their 8x2 boxes and sequencers.
Yeah, which I kind of don't like.
Yeah, we've
You know
talked
what I
about
mean?
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
you and I do not like the smaller ones.
Right.
Mhm.
I'm not a big fan of the black box from Elektron. I've always enjoyed the bigger machines.
Yeah.
I even preferred the what was it? The cheapo gray one that I had. That was an FM
Oh, model cycles.
model
Oh,
cycles.
yeah.
Thank you. I was
Yeah.
thinking model something. I couldn't
Yeah.
remember, but yeah. I preferred that over the Digitone.
Yeah, I
and
remember
it was
you
a
saying that.
fraction of the cost.
Mhm.
I felt like that was a step in the better direction when it came to an FM machine. But I realized also like they just didn't intend the OG Digitone to be a drum
Right,
machine.
right,
It was-
right.
I don't know what the intent was of it to be.
FM synth. I mean,
I guess, but
Yeah.
even in that regard, it seemed kind of cumbersome. You know?
Yeah.
So it confused me. I didn't understand the point of it. But it seems like they've ironed it out a bit, fleshed out some of the issues.
is it real? I mean, or is it out yet? Or is it?
People have them,
Yeah,
but when
Luke
I've
has one.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
had
I
it
say
for
some
weeks.
people had them. When I've looked at places like Detroit Modular and such, it's on pre-order. Maybe it just sold out that quick, or people ordered direct. I'm not sure, but yeah, people got them.
Okay.
They're floating around.
Also remember too, using our exclusive Discord only discount code at Detroit Modular, you can get 10% off of one.
True. You can subscribe to our Discord and get 10% off of Detroit Modular.
I want to take a moment to pat ourselves on the back for all of this promo that we are doing. We have nailed it this evening.
Yeah, we're not
like bravo to all of us. I really think we've done a great job.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So yeah, I mean
it's really pricey though.
It's
a lot
extremely
more
pricey.
Yeah,
it's $1,000. Yeah, $1,000.
You can get a used OG on Reverb right now. Why did I say it like that? Reverb.
That's really taking some liberties with pronunciation there.
Take two. Yeah. You can get a used OG Digitone on Reverb for $450 right now. There's a few of them up at that price.
Oh, that's a really good price.
Half of what this new updated version
It doesn't
is.
have that drum sheen though.
No, it doesn't. But I'm just saying, like, I feel like this should be also in that price range between $500 to $600.
We've talked about this,
I think, is fucking pushing it like way beyond what a little black box should cost.
Yeah, they kind of centered on that. Remember when they did that big bump for the Digitac? Because they used to be like $750.
I got mine for I think it was $650.
I was gonna say when I originally bought
away.
a Digitac, it was like $650. Yeah. That was part of the appeal, is that they were like half the price of a machine drum at that time or something.
That was the thing.
Yeah.
Shit's just real expensive right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's worth that. I might wait until I can score one maybe a little cheaper used down the road or something. Like, it's not something that I feel like is an emergency I need to get.
Yeah, I don't really know what you're working on right now because like
live stuff. I'm trying to piece together stuff. What's that?
Would this fit into that live set?
Would, sort of.
Then maybe.
If I was controlling it externally. Like if I had a tracker to do the heavy lifting with the sequencer and I wasn't entirely locked into the little black box interface. I could see myself using it as a drum brain. Yeah. Like an FM drum brain live. And sending it CC and MIDI note data.
If there was some way to have the tracker interface to Elektron gear, that would be fucking amazing. Yeah,
like on board.
Yeah, on board. Yeah. Like all
that
in
would
one
be
machine.
The ultimate. Yeah.
No. I can obviously hook up a MIDI cable between the two, but like that's the part of Elektron stuff that I just don't click with at all.
Right.
And the tracker is like that is perfect. So like having those in one big box, I'd fucking pay for that, yeah.
Yeah, well, it seems like it's always been a weakness a little bit with the trackers, the synths that they brought
100%,
into the mix too.
Yep. It would correct the two ills. Yeah.
I don't know the full list of differences. I didn't do a hard compare. I just kind of was like glancing at it. But I also noticed it has an arpeggiator mode, which I think the Syntact introduced first, right? Well, actually, no, the Analog 8... Or I'm sorry, not Analog 4.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the A4 I think had the ARP first.
Yeah.
And the Syntac had it, and now this has it. So some spillover there between the little black boxes.
And the Euclidean shit is in there now too.
Yeah, it's got the Euclidean mode.
8 bars instead of 4, which is nice to see that change. That was long overdue, I think.
I read that you cannot send the arpeggiator out via MIDI, though. It's just internal. But even still, I mean, if it's an FM machine, you need to have an ARP in there, in my opinion. So I think makes sense that they finally added that in there.
Yeah, hopefully they let you parameter lock the speed or divisions, because that's the one thing you can't do on the Analog 4.
Really?
It's fucking annoying. Yeah.
That would probably frustrate me so bad.
I think that's the parameter. I'm pretty sure. I
Yeah.
forget. It's been a while since I've used the ARP on that, but that's another one too. Like I don't use the ARP on the Analog 4. I just fucking program the notes in.
It's been a long time since I used a mono machine, but I want to say that there was an ARP on that and that it was step recordable. So that'd be weird if you can't do that on the A4. But I might be misremembering.
The mono machine's one I used for 2 hours. That was it.
It's still my favorite Elektron device, and it still bums me out that we don't have something in that big form factor that can, replace the OG.
That one especially is the priciest one now, because it was slightly less available than the machine drum, and then Sophie being known to use the mono machine for a lot of her tracks kind of blew it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't as popular as the machine drum, but I feel like it should have been. I feel like it was just fully as capable and interesting of a machine. Not to keep plugging myself, but I used the mono machine a lot on my original release on Thaco. It was all over it on Simulacrum.
Mecha Simulacrum or Mecha Simulacra.
Mecha, yeah.
Mecha Simulacrum. Am I
Mecha Simulacrum. Yeah.
Yeah, am I pronouncing that as
Sure.
you would expect? Okay. That is also available for purchase
That's true.
from Thaco Records.
It is.
White vinyl. That's the end of my that's the end of my my push. It's still available. Buy it. It's a reduced price.
I don't know. I'm Thaco complete. I don't have to worry about this stuff.
Oh, nice. Same here, unfortunately. I'm more than
80
complete.
times over. Yeah.
So where does the Digitone Mark II fall on the Grob
Ooh,
metric?
Okay. So let's go over again what it stands for.
Gimmicky, redundant,
Well,
overpriced, boring.
I think I would argue you get like 4 times as many synth engines. Like it's 16 of them instead of 4. So there are lots of advances.
Yeah.
Granted, I do think the boxes are pricey, but everything is.
Right.
So I don't think it's like,
You don't think it's overpriced?
I don't think so.
You think it's...
I think 800 would be a lot more appealing.
I don't think it's redundant. I think it's...
No,
It's
outside of
different
the
enough from the
I
OG.
think
literal
Yeah.
successor, yeah, I think they've changed
Yeah.
enough. It wasn't like a Octatrack Mark II,
Right,
which is
right.
like
And enough that this is a whole new box and not just a
Yeah.
firmware
Yeah.
update.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
And gimmicky. I don't think you can call this
So we got
gimmicky.
We got
And-
1 out of the 4 metrics for the Grob on here. Okay.
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Seems like a solid one. Like to hear the people I know use it that are like, this thing is actually awesome. It's like, okay.
Yeah, have you yet to see any YouTube demos that really convinced me to buy this thing or blew
Oh,
me
yeah.
away?
I
You
haven't
know,
looked at any.
But
I can't wait to see Ricky Tynes or Cuckoos, Cuckawakadoo,
wow,
Tuah patched on that thing. Can't wait to see his bearded face glaring at me from a bathroom mirror as he.
does he still do that?
I don't know. I don't
I've-
watch
I-
his
I
videos.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I can't do it. I can't listen to
No, I
a
don't-
word he
I don't
says.
go there.
Yeah. I mean, even when he's like at conventions and shit and like people are real excited to talk to him, I'm like, skip.
Yeah.
I can't do
No,
it.
to be honest, I want to see.
Joey?
I was going to say, I want to
Blush
see Joey
response?
Blush
Yeah,
Response's
same
here.
take on this thing. I want to see him wow out, make some blasting FM beats on that
Yeah.
thing.
And Div Kid. I really want to see what Div Kid.
Yeah, DivKid's the most reliable one for me.
Yeah.
Does he mess with Elektron stuff? I can't really recall him
He
playing with
I
Elektron stuff.
Don't
But
remember. He
I don't know,
might just
but-
be modular.
I think I've seen him
so.
do non-modular stuff. I don't know if it was Elektron though. Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully he does.
Tear it up, Div Kid.
Yep.
Give us the no bullshit overview
Exactly.
of the Elektron box.
I'm willing to get stuck in. That's
I
all
wanna
I'm
get
saying.
stuck in.
I want to get stuck in. Right
I
now.
like Joey's reviews, but he has the same. I was thinking about this today actually when I let Ryan borrow my machine drum for a while, and it came back just full of like, oh, it doesn't matter what you use. Like it's all this kind of what sounded like just like Xanopicon
Yeah.
stuff. And I feel that way about Joey's stuff too. Where
Yeah.
I know it's going to turn into like super thrashed, and I'd still watch them. Like,
I like watching him get to where he's going.
yeah,
I get a lot,
Yeah,
like-
that's a good point.
Like he does a good job of showing like I've just plugged this in and we're going nuts and like watch me do this thing. And like if it was just like Div Kid, you are seeing a patch that they've worked on and they explain how they got there. Joey though is just like you're watching a very excited person
Yeah.
get there, and that's
full on brat mode.
yeah. And I think you can learn a lot from that. Like, oh, they're basically going in and twisting all the knobs for you and you're watching them do it and you're getting excited when they get excited. So
Yeah, that's a good point. Getting there is maybe the more interesting part in some senses.
So is that all you have for Elektron Corner, or is there more?
That's it.
And now we have left Elektron Corner.
What do you have on your very large
Yeah,
piece
you
of
have a
paper?
big list there, Dave.
Well, it's one
I'm
thing.
really curious.
It is. Oh,
I don't even know if I have any guesses.
you know, does anyone have a guess?
I don't have a fucking clue.
Really? Oh, I just thought this was really obvious. This is the Erica Synths Resonant Filter Bank.
Oh, right.
I wanted to.
Very
I
obvious.
wanted to prepare a few questions for you on that, and then I totally forgot what you would be probably talking about.
So I may answer your questions and more.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I forgot
on
to
us.
prepare.
If you have, please interrupt me because I routinely interrupt everyone else with questions. So
Can this shit gabber?
oh, this shit gabber is hard. Oh, yeah. I guess I can start with my thesis statement right out the front. This thing's fucking magical.
Okay. Sick.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah, no, this is gonna be a lot of gushing. There's a couple of complaints, but by and large, so let me go over what it does if you're not familiar with it. 10 band analog bandpass filters with digital control.
Let me stop here for a moment.
Okay,
So this thing is analog.
it is analog, but the controls are digital.
Interesting.
10
Yes.
bands.
10
Is that
bands.
fixed or variable?
They're
The bands.
fixed.
Okay.
They're fixed frequencies, and they are close to chromatic values. And
Is this based off of the Surge Resonant EQ at all, or is this entirely different?
no, and
Circuit.
it does deviate from the Surge in that because this is digital control,
Uh-huh.
it doesn't take in audio rate CV the way that the Surge does.
Okay.
I had not used the Surge filter bank, so
Well, it has no CV. That's the thing. I love it.
Well, there's a new one that does,
That's true.
but
That's
it's,
true.
it's
Nobody's.
crazy expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just going to mention that. Like me and Nick, we've gone hard down the Surge Resonant EQ rabbit hole
For sure.
back and forth throughout the years, and you've never had one. So
I have never had one.
Yeah. So you're kind of
Surprising.
coming out the door with a
Fresh look.
with a fresh look and quite a contender to start with, I would say. Like you're with all the controls and shit that we've lacked over the years.
This has a ton of control. So this has CV over each of those bands, all 10 of them. You can also there's an expander for it where you have a knob for each of those bands too.
CV over the volume of each band or the like Q width of the resonant peak or anything like that? Is it just
no, it's not individual resonant peak per band. There's a resonance filter. It's for all of them. This is the boost or cut
Gotcha.
for each band.
Okay.
I'm not sure either.
And the CV can basically go raise or lower that, and then also independently with the expander, you can you can still be sending CV, but the expander just sets what that middle is.
I didn't know there was an expander. Do you have it?
I do.
Okay. Oh yeah, I do remember you saying you went ahead and got both. Okay.
I went ahead and got both, and that will be something. I guess I can just say it now. I don't know if the expander is strictly needed.
Mhm.
Right.
I may actually end up just getting rid of it and taking that space back, just because everything being CVable and it being very, very quick to edit where you want each of those bands to be at. It just kind of it's not a filter that I'm finding myself jamming on in the way that I would with a single cutoff and resonant. There's basically too much going on. I want the CV to do a lot of that work for me. But again, your mileage may vary, and there's also multi-mode mode is a very strange thing that took me a little bit of a minute to grok what was going on here. It's a I'm using air quotes, low pass, high pass, band pass, and notch filter. And what it actually is doing is it's basically a profile of those 10. It's still basically going through those same 10 bands, but instead of you setting each one to have the shape of a low pass, you can just set what are those 4 modes, and it just basically puts the band thresholds accordingly. It sets them accordingly.
Right.
So if you have a low pass, it basically cuts off those high ones and just lowers them. And you can then CV that mode.
That's cool.
Yeah, and that's so you can kind of use it like a traditional
Parametric EQ type
yes,
of thing? Okay.
or just a normal low pass filter.
Okay.
Like the audio coming in, you set it to this. Now, it's not going to behave exactly the same because it is still a 10 band pass filter. It's already doing the cutoff for you, but you can still send like an envelope in, or like whatever you would want to do on a cutoff or resonance, and it kind of behaves like that. It's a cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit strange to like get your head around it first. It's mono, which is fine.
Yeah.
What's interesting though is it
It's
has
a little bit of a bummer, but
It'd be tough.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. I think it's at least for me, this is nowhere near a deal breaker for me. It would be cool if it had this. But what it has is it has out all of the bands, but then it has even numbered bands as a separate out and odd numbered bands as a separate out. So you get three
like
out.
the Surge.
Kind of like Surge.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to ask that. I didn't know if it had per band or just some groupings.
It was it's even and odd groupings.
And it doesn't have per band out, right?
No.
Like individual band. Okay.
No.
But you can still do some interesting feedback patching with those
So
isolated band
Yeah,
outputs.
and there's feedback routing in that you can set up in independent.
Dave,
Yes.
tell me more.
We'll get around to that.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, we have those different outs.
One more question about those outs.
Yes.
Can you pick which bands go to either of those outs?
No, it's evens numbered and odd numbers.
Okay.
Yeah, all of the bands are numbered, which is actually really convenient. Here's another thing though. They've already released 1.3 firmware update.
Okay.
Who knows what they might be adding?
Yeah.
I mean, if it seems like they're pretty interested in screwing with it, and there's a menu. It's not menu diving at all. Basically, everything is there's the front page of options, and then the next page. That's it, and all of it's context sensitive. So when you get to that, those buttons that let you select bands. I guess I didn't actually say this yet. There's a button between the screen and above the CV. That's a button for each of the bands.
Okay.
So you can you can select 1, 2, and 3 bands 1, 2, and 3, or 1, 4, and 5. Use the data knob to just change those bands.
Okay, so you can group.
You
bands.
can group them and change them with just one knob, which is
Nice.
pretty nice.
Yeah, that is.
But when you're in a menu, those then become the controls for that menu. All of the options you have are right there. So you're never more than a screen away from anything you want to do. Also, there is 128 presets that you can save and load. You can also play those. You can either do clock in and then either cycle through the presets. And so each new clock pulse, it goes to the next preset, or you can set that to random. So each clock pulse that comes in will go random, or you can set the play mode to CV. So as you send voltage in, basically there's a
0 to 10.
Well, it's 0 to 10. They divide that by 128. And so if you send in voltage at this, it's going to play whichever preset is at that corresponding voltage.
Dave?
Yes.
I like that.
Oh, it fucking rules.
Can you interpolate between those things when you switch between them? Like morph?
It doesn't wait for a clock. It basically, as the voltage changes, if it crosses over into the next one, it just loads that preset.
Okay.
So but it's not like a morph. It's basically you go from one
Hard
preset.
change.
It is a hard
Okay,
change.
gotcha.
Yeah. So, I haven't noticed any issues between them or any even hard clipping or anything like that going between them. It's been pretty smooth.
Right.
There's even more. There is dynamic EQ with both cutoff and boost. So, which are two separate independent
sick.
options. Yeah, you can turn that on so it lowers things that are above that threshold, and you can change where the threshold is. You can raise and lower that. So if you got something that's squelchy, kind of hitting above everything else, you can kind of tamp that down. Inversely, there's also a boost. Everything that's below where you set that threshold, those frequencies get boosted.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, there's some really cool tricks you can do with that. And the fact that they're independent, there's a lot of shaping you can do with that. It's really cool. Then there's the clock mode. So this is kind of weird. You have a clock and a CV coming in. It samples the signal coming in, and you can either basically cycle through the bands, where you, as that's coming in, samples the CV from the CV in on the clock raise, and then applies that to that band. But then there's also CV all, which is you take all of the CV that's going into all of the different CV inputs for all of the bands, and then when clock comes in, it applies whatever those signals are then and keeps them there. So basically, it's like sample and hold.
Yeah.
For CV for each
all
of the
those
bands. Yeah.
That's cool.
So you can have a dynamic state EQ that is shifting around.
Yes.
That's neat.
Huh.
Okay. It seems like, I mean, we were all hyped for this when it was announced years ago.
Yeah.
and kind of gave up on it as like vaporware. But it seems like behind the scenes, it didn't come out because they've been putting a lot of thought into this thing.
Oh, there's a lot of work behind this panel.
Okay. So worth the wait.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
It was not cheap, but honestly,
How much it run?
I think it was 4 something.
Okay. I think that's what they said initially too when they announced it years ago. So that's cool that they're still in that price range.
And the expander, I think, was 100. But yeah, I would pay, honestly, I would pay 500, 600 for it. It sounds fucking amazing. There's no complaints so far in sound.
I would love to do a sonic comparison between like this and a Surge, you know?
Yeah.
Because the Surges, even without the CV, like it just had a sound to me that was always amazing. Most of them, it depended on what caps people used in their builds.
Yep. Because it had like a built-in, like in the gain, it would get more resonant the more you gained it, but it was kind of like a fixed resonance level.
Sure.
So it gave it a certain sound.
And it had a delightful harmonic saturation.
Oh, yeah.
When you would start to go up on those sliders. I love those.
That Manhattan one, Mark II one with the individual outs, though, is still probably the best one, I would say, if you want to say best, like just feature-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Until the new voltage-controlled one came out, which is like really expensive and also like huge.
Yeah, and I really want it. But
I'm sure.
This is kind of... This seems like maybe a second best choice.
I mean, it's available and the price is not outrageous.
I mean, I spent, when I was trying out that one time, different Surge EQs, some that I paid, I think it was what, $8.99 for?
Oh yeah, you got the one with the clown caps, you know,
I had the...
With the fancy knobs too.
Yes, the candy cap. I forget. What the hell brand was that was making these?
What was that?
But they were doing very special matched caps of certain, some distorted in different ways than others. So I tried a couple different ones and they all sounded good to me. Right. It was hard to pick a favorite, but ultimately I just went with my OG Manhattan one with the sliders and the individual outs because it was just hard to justify that cost at that time for me.
Did you sell that one?
I still have the funky one. It was a build that somebody did that isn't so solid. It gets kind of glitchy. So I've never sold it because I wouldn't feel comfortable selling it to anyone because it's kind of not a great build. But all the other ones I think I've had 4 other Surge Res EQs in the last decade, and yeah, I've sold all those. But so I would love to see how this compares to any of them, you know, even like the base model Surge Res EQ.
Maybe my modular can have like a little field trip.
Yeah.
I bring it over here.
Mm-hmm.
You test drive it.
Yeah.
We have like a little packed lunch with a juice box.
PB&J.
Yeah, a little PB&J, a little
strawberry jam.
Really?
You're not into the strawberry?
I mean, I like it, but the classic's grape.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, never mind. It's fucking field trip. It's called off. I'm not signing its permission slip. But no, I'll bring it over sometime. And I'm actually really curious to how it compares with Surge having no experience with them.
Maybe I'll bring my lunch too, and I can bring mine.
Yeah,
perfect. A little Pepsi challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still have a Res EQ?
Oh yeah, the one I built.
Cool.
Random source. Yeah,
I
never let go of that.
I thought you sold it for some reason.
And I still have that and the VCFQ.
Okay. For some reason, I thought you got rid of the
Res
EQ for
was going
that.
to. The one I had one of the first individual out Manhattan that you sold to me that I sold back to you that you then sold.
Yeah, I do miss that one. That one was great.
That one was like kind of the standard in my mind a little bit. The individual outs, as you know, are so much fun.
Yeah. I got that one because Surchai sold me on it. I was at a synth meet in Chicago. It was when those were first announced.
Yeah.
And like Surchai had his headphones on for a while and he was just like jamming out. And he just looked at me and he just like waved me over. I'm like, what's up? He's like, just fucking listen to this. And he put my headphones on and he just started doing like a feedback patch or something into the headphones. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay. I was like, I need to get one of these. And that was years ago. And you can hear Surchai still to this day, I think, in all of his material. You can hear the Res EQ getting used and abused. And yeah, I've never gotten sick of it either since that first introduction to it. Because it was just something, I was like, why the fuck do I need this giant EQ in my module? You know, when I first saw it, I paid it no attention.
Yeah.
I wasn't very familiar with Surge stuff, so I was like, yeah, I don't fucking need that, whatever. And then like, yeah, he kind of forced me to listen to it, and I was, my ears were never the same twice. From there on. Now I compare every fucking equalizer to like a Surge Resonant EQ.
Yeah. Wish they would make a stereo one, don't we all? But, that would be fun.
I never fucked with that verbose one that is supposed to be kind of like it, but it
Yeah.
didn't sound the same to my ears. So
And all that stuff is so expensive.
Yeah.
The Verbo stuff is like, even the basic stuff.
I had the Sputnik one, Spectral, whatever. And that had individual outs, but did not have the sound. To me, it was more of half of a vocoder. And like, it was big. It wasn't even that pricey. They eventually reissued it and it became a lot pricier, but it just wasn't up my alley.
I had the one from Zlob recently.
Oh, the Resonant
Filter Bank.
Filter Bank.
Whatever. Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it's called, but that thing was cool, but it did not sound like a Surge.
Yeah,
like,
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, I mean, it had some CV functionality and it was a fun feedback patch type of module. I was getting crazy with the noise on it, but apples and oranges, I would say, when compared with the Surge Res.
Well, we'll see how this stacks up eventually.
I have high hopes now, Dave.
Well, I hope I haven't pushed them too high, but I think this will.
I'm a little hyped for it.
I think this might deliver. It's delivering for me, but I'm a Philistine.
Yeah, the clips you posted sounded great, and I will say the other ones I've listened to online made me very interested in it.
The clips that Dave posted in our Sysex Dumpster Discord.
It's true.
That you can gain access to for only a mere $5 a month.
Yeah.
For the price of a pumpkin spice latte.
Yeah.
You could have access to Dave's Gabber clips.
Yeah, because I don't post that shit on Instagram. So this is the only place to get that high quality content that I create somewhat sporadically. I even got a what's it called? Like a little cell phone holder thing, clamp. It was $3 at Goodwill. It was clearly not the newest model, but the videos are not me just like holding my camera real shaky.
Cam.
There's no shaky cam.
with Dave.
Yeah.
You don't fuck around.
No, this is steady. Hands of a surgeon.
So this whole page that's dedicated to that.
There's this thing does a lot, and I honestly didn't want to forget anything because I don't want to
you gave it the whole rundown.
Yeah, and I didn't want to sell it short because I'm really excited for this, and I think Erica deserves a round of applause. Not literally, because I don't have to edit that out.
No,
you guys clapping. It's gonna be a mess.
No, nobody wants.
Insert a clapping sound effect.
But it's gonna be from like a Nintendo like sports game.
Yeah, I was gonna say in my mind it was just like computer golf
like
games.
Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah.
Punch out.
8-bit.
Okay, yeah, I will find the perfect shitty clapping celebration to put in right here. Does anybody have anything else that they would like to talk about?
Could go one more.
Yeah, do it.
I'm going to pull you into a place we call the Waldorf corner.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
So there's in Pittsburgh. There's a Waldorf school. That's it's by your house.
Yeah, most people when I wear my Waldorf shirt that's kind of crazy looking think that I'm referring to that school. I think even Steph did initially. It was like Waldorf, like the school. I'm like, oh, not at all. No. Just the synthesizers.
Well, we already have an Elektron corner. Waldorf needs to have its own the Waldorf sauna.
Whirlpool?
Ooh, there we go.
Yeah. The Waldorf Whirlpool.
That's hard to say that.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
What
Wasteland?
Waldorf dormitory?
The Waldorf
Dorf on golf?
Laboratory.
Waldorf laboratory. Oh shit, that does roll off. Waldorf laboratory. I don't hate that.
The Waldorf lab.
We'll workshop this.
Yeah, we will.
Waldorf workshop.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Waldorf workshop.
You can insert a little what was it on PBS, like Nova workshop?
There was also the the workshop of the guy who just only used like old timey tools and shit. It was something called like the Frontiersman workshop or something like that. Like he didn't use any like electrical tools. It was all like old.
Was he Amish?
No, but it was like that's what they would use. Yeah. Also, really.
Well, welcome to the Waldorf workshop. Maybe like it sounded a little like wavetabley, like a Tesla coil zapping
Perfect.
thing,
Yes.
something like that. But I'm not here to talk to you about a wavetable synth, actually, for Waldorf. I'm instead like to talk about the 1995 or 96 Waldorf Pulse 1 rack mount synth. I think the last time I spoke to you about Waldorf stuff, I had gotten the microwave too and was like, I'm done.
Mhm.
And then I came across some samples of the Pulse, and fuck, that thing is really sick. It's a 3-os analog synth, actually. Analog filter, DCO, analog oscillators, very snappy envelopes. It is in some senses known to be almost maybe lifted a little the filter off the Mini Moog. And I will say it is, as many people know, it's a fucking bass master. Like it is excellent at bass sounds in a way that I haven't really heard from many other synthesizers. Very snappy, very full. It immediately evokes for me kind of like Berlin schooly things that are really bassy.
Okay, so not like drum and bass, more like that.
Oh, drum and bass. You can get ridiculous bass lines out of it for drum and bass too. In fact, I've programmed it sometimes and was like, oh, that's that sound I've heard on this jungle record.
Some Reese's.
Mm-hmm.
Reese's
Well,
Pieces.
I don't think it'll do like Alpha Juno-y, but it does have some weird things it can do with the oscillators, and you can do some kind of crazy FM. It is a slightly painful, but not to me edit rack mount to edit. It's like a matrix, but the button to select which level of the matrix only goes one way. So if you want to go one level up, you've got to hit like a ton of times to get it to go back. And then if you miss, like it's known to be a little annoying in that regard. One of the first synths from them that has full CC control over everything. So there are lots of programmers that exist for it. I personally just use it from the panel right now. It's got lots of sweet spots to me. It's all about like stacking the oscillators and making it very thick and the way they interact with each other. It also seems like people like running it into a modular, because one nice thing about it for analog synth, like if you hook it up to a tuner in Ableton like I do sometimes, it is like not even a cent off on every octave, like all the way up to like 10 octaves. So for someone, I actually sold a few of my analog oscillators on my modular because I was like tuning. It's just annoying. And there's like no difference. Like I'm not going to CV pulse width modulation all the time. I can do that with an LFO on a synth. Like I'm not going to do that a ton. But man, I love the sound of it. I actually got two because I came across a Pulse 2, which is in the little Blofeld format.
Okay.
And there was one on Reverb for like 330 or something like that. And I was like, oh shit, like I gotta, if I don't like this or if it sounds very different, I'll flip it. It was one of those things because they usually go for 500. In fact, I tried to get the blue one that is only at Schneidersladen or maybe Thomann, but they won't ship it to the US for some reason. That one in particular. It's like baby blue. Like it's kind of gross, but like in a way that I really like. But you can't like get it. And I was trying to snipe them on Reverb, but it's not. I just saw this cheap one and it was also like a little beat up. And I'm like, oh, you're coming home with me. The Pulse 2 is very similar. It's much easier to edit. But the sound is maybe not quite as rich as the one. It's the one I kind of prefer, but it also does like a different level of kind of like crazy bass sounds. It has a few other features that the other one doesn't. I forget what right now. Maybe the ring mod acts a little differently. But I found that I really love playing both of them against each other, which is partially why I got the Torso T1 at first, because I was like, ooh, I'm going to find like something to drive these two. But that's actually just like the Hapax pretty much, or like Euro sequencers through the FH2 CV to MIDI conversion. Is what I'm going to be playing with soon. So that kind of, to foreshadow, that factors into like this next project that I want to work on a little bit heavily. Actually, it's kind of where some of the ideas from it came from.
So aside from the panel interface, what are some deficiencies that would explain why this isn't a bigger synth?
Oh, good question. I think it was in the 90s very popular because it was affordable, Had lots of MIDI CC control. I think that's why you heard it on Jungle Records, because you could get like an Akai sampler and like one of these, and it was like you were pretty much set. Some people don't like the DCOs, so they want something to sound differently. For me, like it sounds incredibly analog and satisfying, so I don't like need the tuning issues at all. Actually, I can get that from modular, not vintage gear. Not the most modulation ever. I got the Pulse Plus 2 just on happenstance, and it's the one that has CV outputs and also a CV gate input, which is nice. So you can take some of the LFOs in that one, and it even smooths them, I believe, and you can send them with the CV out. I haven't done that much, but part of it, I happened to see the Pulse. I would have gotten either one, but I happened to see this one for a good price, kind of beat up. But it turns out the knobs work fine. It's all potentiometers instead of rotaries, which I think the microwave was all rotaries. Yeah, it was. So there's a little jumpiness when you edit. Some people don't like to edit. For me, like it seems like a pretty easy pain to put up with, because for something like that, I kind of know what I'm going for. I'll experiment a little, but there's not too much to do. I'm going to change the envelopes. I'm going to use the LFO to some extent.
Does it come loaded with a lot of presets?
Not as many as you'd like. You get, I think, 64. I may be wrong, or like 99. Yeah, there's only like a 3-segment, 3-space display.
That's surprising. I thought that would be a lot more than that.
No, the microwave has a bit more. This one doesn't have much, and you only get like 32 user presets actually, and the rest of them are ROM, even though I think you might be able to write over some of those. But yeah, not much as far as that goes. I've saved like 3 patches on it so far. I've played with it a little while. I was making this record, but it didn't like make the cut. I tried to use it for some bass sounds, and it just didn't like pan out. But I love the way it sounds. I'm very excited by it. It's a really fresh synth to me. I think if you put that sound engine in the Analog 4, holy shit, because the Analog 4 in comparison is weak as fuck in that way. It does its own thing that I like very well, and obviously it does like poly stuff. That's the one. Oh yeah, the Pulse 2, you get paraphonic, like 4-note, I think. So there's like I think it's only pulse wave. And that's the key to the name, and why some people maybe don't like the sound, is it's one of the few synthesizers that bases its other waveforms off the pulse wave. That's how the DCO works, and they derive the saw and square and sine from that.
It's like a pulse core.
It's a pulse core.
That's cool.
That's why it's Waldorf's only like real analog in that way. And I think because they were so good at that digital part of it, they're like, oh, we'll just make like this DCO. And I think that gives it its unique, like very rough and raw sound in a way that I think you would like it actually.
Yeah, it sounds really interesting.
Very raw. It can get dirty and like huge bass, very thick and full. Different than the microwave, which is very thin, even though you can do a different type of bass I really like in the microwave. Like think like cleaner jungle sine, like nice defined, but the pulse is like heavy width. Makes me think of like, hate to say it almost in a way, like early, like Pretty Hate Machine kind of bass. And I think they may have used that to some degree on it. Very thick.
This has really been intriguing. I may have to give this a serious look. That sounds awesome.
And you can find them on Reverb, and they seem to like, I didn't have to fix much on mine. The panel was fucked up, like kind of, but it's not like, I don't care. I kind of like that anymore as long as it functions. The pots and the parts to replace are unobtainium. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, but I also think the Pulse 2 is great. A little easier to edit. It doesn't have that. There is something to the Pulse 1 sound, I will say. And I don't think I'm tricking myself. I've A-B'd them a bit to this point, or like worked on just like tracks, just like using those two.
Yeah.
I love the way they play together. So I intend on keeping both.
That's awesome.
Especially at the price I like snipe them at. You can find some deals for older rack shit like that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got quite the Waldorf lineup now.
I do. I love them all.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, the M especially. The M is still the top for me. It's all over this record. If you hear a synthesizer on this record, it's probably the M, or the microwave too.
Yeah. So wait, at this point, what? Like, are you going to just basically turn into a museum?
No.
Waldorf? No.
No, I'm actually good now.
Okay.
Like I have the
really,
ones
because
I
I feel like you said it before.
Until next episode.
I don't want the Blofeld. Like the Iridium Core is still tempting sometimes, but like
that's the one that's still really tempting to me.
It's super flexible. I don't want to learn a new thing right now at all, especially not something like that vast. Like the Iridium Core has every synthesis type you can think of in it, kind of.
Yeah.
And I've heard the samples. I don't think the wavetable stuff sounds as good as like kind of the classics that I like. I think the M is their top tier thing for me. That is, if I had to reduce it down to like, I would just have push 3 and an M in my laptop, and I could honestly do like pretty much everything I want to with that. I would miss the pulse bass, but and my granular shit in the modular.
Well, thankfully, no one's making you do
No, nope.
Yeah, speaking of like tuning analog oscillators, Cyrus, my cousin, seems to be a reoccurring character in our episodes now, always discussing him. He just received finally, after like I think over a year wait, his Solar 42 order. He likes it, but he said that he can't stand trying to tune all the oscillators.
Oh God, I bet.
But he and I both also just got a Norns, and he learned that there's a script to do tuning, and he's been using that, and so he can like tune it all to the chord that he wants. And
cool.
And since he started doing that, he's getting along with it much more. He said the tuning was kind of a hurdle that he had to cross over. But I was surprised that he went for that machine in the first place. You know, like he usually sticks with smaller, mostly digital.
I'm not surprised only because I don't know what he's doing. Yeah,
he's become fascinated with drones and things like that. So yeah, he in his mind, the Solar 42 seemed to be like the ultimate for that sort of.
Yeah,
you know, he wanted to make like interstellar type sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and he seems to be jiving with it. So cool. He's one of the. I don't think we know anyone else that has a Solar 42.
No.
You know, like they're hard to come by. It was a year that he had to wait for it.
Mm-hmm. They weren't cheap.
Wow.
No, they're not cheap. They're each handmade by, in Poland.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know much about that other than the massive amount of oscillators it has.
Right. Yes. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, he's digging it. I'm curious to play with it next time I am in the Seattle area.
Do we need to have an episode that's all of the people we reference? So like Luke, Cyrus, and Gabo.
Just like a big special guest episode.
Yeah, no, we're gone. Like they just replace us.
Go. That would be great.
But we like don't give them any sort of script.
Nothing.
Yeah, just put a mic in front of them.
I can only imagine.
Yeah,
it's so intriguing.
I am curious to hear to hear when Cyrus is like digging into it.
Yeah,
what they think of it.
You sent me a couple clips already. I liked it. What I've heard so far.
How much is it? Like over $2,000 or something?
Oh, I forget.
Yeah,
not cheap.
I think it was over $2,000.
Let me Google. Hold on. Let me consult the Oracle. You were correct, Dave. $2,000. I asked him if he wants to just get rid of his modular now that he has that instead, and he said, like, honestly, he's kind of like phasing out some of his oscillators and such now.
I can see that.
And kind of gearing his modular to be more weird stuff, like his morphogene,
right,
things like that.
So this is like the main voice,
yeah,
and then have a bunch of other stuff around it.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So is there anything else we want to talk about? I feel like we're wrapping up here.
Yeah, I had a couple of things that are just like
I said we're wrapping up here.
Anecdotes. Okay. Sorry.
Said we're wrapping up here. All right. No. What anecdotes do you have?
I don't have either of them, so I can't speak to them much. But I was interested that both Polyend and Chase Bliss released stereo compressors within 24 hours of each other.
That's very weird.
For the same price point, $399.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Oh, that is very weird.
And it has my interest because I was interested in the Polyend press since it was announced.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was like, that could make a nice companion to the tracker. But there hasn't been a single demo that I've heard of it that kind of blew me away. It all just seems very like utility compressor.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it doesn't have a whole lot of character to me.
Right.
But then listening to demos of the Chase Bliss, and this could just be me speaking as a Chase Bliss fanboy, I feel like the pedal is a lot more interesting than the Polyend press.
Yeah.
Like the sound is capable of doing some cool distortion stuff. Like despite them calling it clean with the name, it can definitely get dirty. It
Right.
sounds like it can get grimy and interesting and have a lot of character. And with all the dip switches and stuff like all their pedals seem to have these days, you can do some weird alt mode stuff with it.
Is there an ability to sidechain with another signal?
Yep.
Oh, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anything you can think of you can do with a compressor, you can pretty much do with the clean.
Okay.
Whereas like the polyamp press seems to be a lot more basic and not as experimental.
It is weird that they're the same price.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. But
Are you interested enough to actually get one, or is it
I'm probably going to get the clean. I don't think I'll bother trying the press. But I would love to have clean at like the end of chain following other Chase Bliss pedals, like the Onward or the Lossy.
Isn't clean and press a weightlifting thing?
Yeah. It's like a clean, like when you're, it's that like fucking, not bench press, but like
Lift it above your head.
Clean jerk kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's really
Nip
weird.
and tuck.
But it's weird that they would have something that like is a thing. The two names turn into a thing. They were released within 24 hours of one another, and they're the same price point. Like that's everything about that seems really odd.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at is there's a conspiracy theory here to unravel.
Definitely.
And I think we're the crew to start breaking it down.
I tried to reach out about a demo. And they said, yeah, try in like a few weeks. And I guess it's been a few weeks. I could hit them
Try
up again. Yeah. Doesn't hurt.
I'm sure Ben Jordan will have a hour-long, unbiased documentary on the Polyend press. I took the Polyend press to the Sahara Desert and generated 80 hours of music using just a compression pedal.